Creativity is needed at any given time, in any given timeline, yesterday, today, or tomorrow. Very good evening to you and to everybody at AMDT, including the two people who started this. I should say Vinodi and Satish. I must say that I humbly thank you for having me and Santosh at this very cool location. There is one word, from the time I walked into the hotel, I was thinking, this is so cool. You know why I think like that? When we were in school and when we got out of school, this was nearly 27 years ago that I did my, I completed my schooling and then got into my high education. If you said that you wanted to go to a creative school, usually the people on this side, that's the parents, will go, are you crazy? Or ape bhasawen kiwwat muta pissuda. That was the very kind of reaction that you would get with a common Sri Lankan parent. And at that time, if you had a creative gene in you, you'd have to do your own experiments, you'd have to do your own thing, and you had to hope and pray that most of the parents will say okay to go into a creative job. And also, if you thought that you need some sort of an academic qualification, you would have to do something completely different. Like if you take me, I had done corporate finance and marketing as a part of my business degree. I was quite good at it, but my heart was always in creatives and to do a creative thing. So with that in mind, when I walked into this event, I was like, this is so cool. Look at this. You know, you see that after 27 years, and when you live in a place which thought that doing something creative was not a job or not a, yes, it was not a job always. It's something that you do with a lot of passion, but you can do it professionally. And to see that Sri Lankan parents have accepted it, Sri Lankan youth have chosen it very boldly in big numbers like this, is extremely cool. That's why I said this is so cool. So, and for the first time, I heard that you guys are offering the BA honors and the first batch of students are passing out. And that's even cooler. To see that, you have bachelor's degrees for creatives. Because these were unheard of during our time, and I'm sure Shalin comes from our time as well, and he knows that this was unheard of. And working with a lot of young people these days, you see that people who want to do creatives going to an institution and getting academically qualified, it gives you the advantage above when we got into these kind of work. It gives you about a 5 years head start. Because you know why? You have the passion. Right? You have the vision. Usually they say you have the vision and then you have the passion. But in creatives, you have to have the passion. And then you have to have the vision. And then when you're properly trained academically, it gives you a distinct head start above everybody else. And what AMDT has done with regard to this is amazing. What you are doing for Sri Lanka is amazing. And so I congratulate AMDT, on that front, and then I'd like to move to you guys. I first congratulated your parents over there because they were bold enough to say, okay, go and do creatives. Then I'm congratulating AMDT, but then the most important people of tonight is you guys, the graduates. Now, when you head in this direction, I know that most of your friends might sometimes come and question you. Me oya ganna eka harida. Right? But you need to know that the decision that you take in getting into getting into creative industries is the best decision that you can make in your life. You know why? See, most of the time, if you take the contemporary timeline, a lot of youngsters look at what is big now and they hook on to that. But if you take people who are very successful in what they do, those are the people who saw what the next big thing is and got onto that path. Now, if you take the early 1990s, I can remember in our school, there was a club called the Computer Club. And the guy who was the president of that computer club was not taken seriously at that time because computers were just a part-time for people who were doing games. Sri Lanka, I'm talking about where we grew up in. So when you said that you were the president of the computer club, computer club begini. But that guy who became the president of the computer club today, he got on to the next big thing. He owns one of the biggest IT firms in the company. He owns one of the biggest IT firms in the country, which does a lot of exports of IT products. And he's a very innovative guy. His company is innovative and they are doing great things today. When we were in school in the early 90s and the late 80s, every other Tom, Dick and Harry wanted to do SEMA. Even people who did law wanted to do SEMA. Even people who were going to, doing every other degree wanted to do SEMA because that was the next big thing. And today, if you take a lot of the biggest accountants and financial consultants in this country are guys who did SEMA at that time. But now, you do SEMA, it's saturated market and people are finding it very difficult to come up. Now, creatives, going down the path of doing something creative won't get you, to even think of that problem, because you know why? What you have got yourselves into and what you want to do will never stand in that timeline of the next big thing or the big thing which was there back in the day. Because creativity is needed at any given time, in any given timeline, yesterday, today, or tomorrow. Because you know why? You guys are like water. It's a flexible thing that you have chosen to do. Creativity comes in so many forms. Right? Just like I think this is from a movie where Bruce Lee says, right? He says, if there is a cup, you become the water. You become flexible. You start bending yourself. So creatives or creativity or what you're doing will always be needed in any timeline, any time, and for every other job this world has to offer, they will need you to bring in an element of life to it. A lot of people won't see this as a serious thing when they are your age. But when you come to our age, when you come to my age rather, you see that creatives is an essence in every other industry. You take telecom, you take banking, they need us to bring in the life factor. Right? It can be graphics, it can be music, it can be art, it can be films, but every other industry, even Sparsilon needs that to sell their products. Right? The creative guys bring in the life to your products. If not, it'll be just another bottle of cream, of oils. But you bring in life. Who brings in life? You guys do it. It's the graphic designers, it's the musicians, it's the filmmakers. And you guys are going to be that factor, the life factor for all other industries. And also you guys can be the life factor for a nation. At this moment, we are going through a massive turmoil. Who can bring up the hope? Who can bring up the positivity to keep the people going at this difficult time? It's you guys. It's the creative people. So, what you're graduating today, whatever that you're graduating in today, please take it very seriously, because you guys can change an entire nation with what you are doing. By an entire nation, I don't mean it in a very, very, a broad sense. I mean it like you go to every vertical, you guys can change it. So all the very best. And I wish everybody in this room today who's graduating the best of luck to go out there and change the world to be a better place.